This program contains adult content.
Is there a God?
Big atheist.
Really?
What, am I an idiot? Come on.
That yes, it would be nice if you could throw your sins and your responsibilities on someone else. But it's not true.
It looks like far-left lunacy.
I don't believe that it's true that religion is moral or ethical.
You don't need to follow anybody!
It's not human intelligence!
If someone doesn't value logical consistency, what logical argument are you going to give them that will demonstrate that they should?
Welcome to the Godless Rebelution. This is episode 187. Today is Friday, December 29th, and I am Dan Ellis. That guy.
I'm the other guy.
Mr. Ryan Doofy.
Or Duffy. However you want to pronounce it. I mean, depends on what country. Whoa.
Did people ever make fun of you? Did they ever call you Doofy?
After the first Scream movie came out, or the one where they made fun of it, Officer Doofy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's Scream.
Yeah, I got that a little bit.
Oh, no, that's not Scream. That's
one of the scary movies.
Oh,
scary
was it
movie.
Scary? Oh, right.
Scary movies, Officer Doofy.
Yeah.
With his shop vac.
And we are joined in studio again this week by the fantastic Mr. Grant Larimer.
The third guy.
The purple dragon. You did wear purple tonight.
I had time. I had time to change.
You had a bit more notice this week?
A little bit more notice.
Well, what have you guys been doing over the week?
Work.
Yay!
I've worked all the holidays.
Yeah.
My girls gave me this beautiful wine carafe for Christmas.
It's really cool.
Yeah, so I am trying to enjoy it as much as possible. I am getting maximum usage out of it. I am filling it up as much as I can.
And then repouring it back into the bottle it came out of, correct?
Sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what I do with the
wine. So what makes this carafe so special?
Well, so I mean, it's hard to explain. It's this glass carafe. I guess I could post a picture of it or send you a picture. But it has two sides to it, and one of them kind of loops around into this aerating hole. And then there's
I've got one of those.
There's the larger hole where everything comes out of.
Yep, got one of them too.
So by which hole do you fill it?
The big hole. I fill the big hole. Well, you pour it out of the big hole too. The smaller curly tail hole is just for aeration and for
fluid dynamics of getting it out of the carafe.
Yeah. But it's just very artistic.
It looks really cool.
Really cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I dig it.
It was fun.
Yeah. What did you guys do you worked during the holidays. Did you guys do anything at the station for the holiday?
I binge watched some Netflix. Took a couple naps, ate some bacon.
What'd you binge watch?
I'm trying to remember what I was watching. Oh, I watched all the Star Trek movies.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Like not the newer ones, like all the original, like.
All the original.
Yeah, like the first, what is it? There are 5 of them?
Well, they're.
No, the 5 original
from
Star Trek.
The
original cast.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And which one was your favorite?
I don't know. There's one I realized I never even watched before. The one where they go
I
to
think
get.
There's 6 actually.
Is there 6? Because the one with
the Undiscovered Country is the 6th, and then there's Generations, which has some of the cast.
Where they go to get Spock.
Oh, the Search for Spock.
Search for Spock. I had never actually watched that one.
3, yeah,
I never watched that one before.
Oh shit!
So I'd seen 2 when Spock dies. Then I'd seen
4
where Spock's back and they're going to get the whale and Spock's all loopy and weird.
Well,
I'm like, I don't know why Spock's all weird in this one. Then I'm like, oh shit!
I don't know why he's all weird. I thought he was fucking dead.
Or why they're in a Klingon warbird.
I'd never even bothered to ask.
I mean, in 4 they're abandoned on Vulcan in a Klingon warbird.
Well, I'd seen most of them when I was a kid, with just watching them. I never knew the order they were supposed to be in.
I guess I know way too much about this.
Grant is just throwing down facts for his nerd street cred.
All the Star Trek movies are on Hulu right now.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, I'll just watch them.
But you guys didn't do anything like gifting, like a white elephant exchange or anything like that?
No, some guys had like their families come in.
Oh, yeah.
But
come and visit the station.
Yeah.
This is what I do.
I decided to take the time to nap.
That sounds like a wise decision.
Since the base is like empty besides us.
What did you do for the holiday?
Hung out with my kids a lot. I had a dinner party on Christmas Eve, and this was probably the most drama I've had on pretty much any Christmas Eve, honestly. But my friends, they put on a lovely dinner party. One of my friends has taken in a rescue kid from, not a kid anymore. She's 26 now.
Which still sounds weird every time I've heard you say it, Rob. Rescue kid.
Well, yeah, it's FLDS, out of an FLDS cult. Took her in at 19 or 20. Rescued her from that. I mean, that's what you're doing when you're getting them out of there. The level, I've known this girl for a number of years now, and she's a lovely girl, but the level of abuse she's gone through, when she was down in the cult in the compound is unbelievable. And she's turned her life around quite a bit, but she's still pretty messed up. Recently diagnosed with, dissociative identity disorder. Sometimes she thinks she's a 4-year-old little girl and gets confused. And apparently she had a bad week. Her whole family is still in the cult, including her little sisters. And her brother ended up coming up and to visit her. They had coffee, and at one point, somehow her brother ended up taking her into Victoria's Secret to buy her and her little sister's lingerie.
That sounds pretty fucking creepy.
Which is really fucking creepy.
Uh-huh.
So that triggered kind of a whole incident with her. And Christmas Eve, something must have triggered something. And we don't know if she knew who she was, if she was in kind of a dissociative state or whatever. She just disappeared into the night. And this was when it had started snowing down here in the valley. She was in a cocktail dress and heels, and she just disappeared. And we tried to track her for a while. We ended up doing search parties all over the neighborhood, trying to track footprints in the snow and shit like that. And we lost her, lost her trail like a mile or so down the road. But she ended up, we didn't know if she knew who she was or where she was going. She ended up walking home, which was like 5-6 miles.
Oh, wow.
In heels and a cocktail dress.
In the snow on a snowy, cold night. And we're still not entirely sure what triggered it or if she knew. But yeah, it just kind of a damper on Christmas Eve for a while until we found out she was safe. But at least she's safe.
Yeah.
So, and whatever triggered all of this, her brother or whatever else, it
remains a mystery.
It'll remain a mystery, but at least, my friend who took her in has been getting her the care and attention she needs to recover from whatever she went through in the compound. And she'll get her the therapy she needs to address it. But it was a strange bit of drama for Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Especially with all the stores being closed, the snow coming down, stores being closed. There was nowhere she could go into. There was nowhere. She didn't have her cell phone or anything. So yeah, it's just weird. But I mean, it just shows the degree of, just how fucked up certain religions, FLDS. I mean, we talk a lot about Muslims and ISIS and radical shit. But I mean, they're not the only radical fucking thing.
Oh yeah, by no means.
I mean, the FLDS, they fuck a lot of people up, and this kid has been out of it for. I keep calling her a kid. She's 26, but she doesn't
act like it.
She doesn't act like a kid. She's not a young
or doesn't
woman.
act like a typical 26-year-old.
No, because she's never had a typical childhood, and she's so sweet and wonderful. But no, I mean, she's so new to the world that she doesn't act like a 26-year-old, and it fucks them up so much. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah,
and
I can't imagine.
It's taken her years to get out of it, and she's recovered quite a bit. But yeah,
I can't imagine the hell that some of those people have to go through. We had Roy Jeffs on the show a while back, who's son of Warren
Lost
Jeffs.
Boy?
Yeah, well, he's Warren Jeffs' son and was kicked out and all of that, and he's, seems to be very well adjusted. He's super nice, smart, awesome guy.
Yeah.
we had on the show. But I can't imagine living that kind of life for that long and suffering that much abuse in it. I mean, it has to affect you.
Yeah.
In a really deep and meaningful by being harmful way, that living that kind of life for that long just has to fuck you up.
Yeah. Child abuse.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't mean to put a downer on the holidays. I mean, it had a happy ending.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. No, I mean, it had a happy ending. So, she's safe and everything. But, yeah, it just fucked up.
Yeah. Well, we typically do a big family Christmas Eve dinner. And because we've got the nice house with the fantastic, awesome kitchen, we usually host it here. And Tracy's mom traveled out of town to go see her brother in California this year. And then her other brother and his girlfriend didn't come to stay with us because they went to go see her parents this year. So it was a much smaller thing. And Tracy's grandparents are very old and very frail. Her grandmother is 87, I want to say.
So you played hopscotch is what you're telling me.
And well, so she's 87 and has some weird thing with her mouth that like everything she eats or drinks just burns her mouth.
Oh.
And it's painful and uncomfortable. And so she's just kind of wasting away. She weighs like 70 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I mean, she's not a tall woman by any means. She's maybe 5 feet tall, but she's just skin and bones and wasting away. And, they're both very old. Her grandfather can hardly see. He's mostly deaf. Her grandmother is just frail and old and has a hard time getting around. She's got, what is it where you lose your balance all the time? Like vertigo.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she got like vertigo. They don't, so they don't like to go anywhere. It's difficult for them. Their house has to be boiling hot all the time because they're always fucking cold. So they come over here and they freeze the whole time.
When you have no body fat, I mean.
Right, yeah.
You have no insulation.
Yeah. So, because her mom was out of town and her brother didn't come, Tracy went over to her grandmother's house and said, this year I want to come over to your house so you don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to do anything, but, we'll make dinner at your house and have, the little bit of family that's still in town come over and spend Christmas Eve with you guys instead of doing it at our house this year. And so we went over to her grandparents' house and did that. Actually, she went over there early in the afternoon and Tracy and her sister did most of the cooking, all the prep work, all of that kind of shit. I got to just show up and eat and then leave. But her grandmother was entirely appreciative and like cried when we were leaving and thanked everybody so much. And, it may be her last Christmas around. So, that was really nice. And then her birthday is the 23rd. So it was kind of a twofer. So we got to do her birthday and Christmas over there. And then Christmas Day, we have a tradition of doing breakfast burritos, which are awesome. Like I make fantastic potatoes, and then we do scrambled eggs and bacon and sausage and avocado and tomato and I mean everything that you can fit in a burrito, and do breakfast burritos, and then we open gifts and hang out and drinks, and we do mimosas all morning long and move into eggnog and just
straight whiskey.
Get tanked and we get tanked and eat breakfast burritos and open presents and just hang out and have a good time. That was a whole lot of fun. Had, my mom and stepdad over and Tracy's whole family minus her brother and mother and, but had the kids over. Yeah, it was a whole lot of fun. But then I did not feel well. Oh, and Summer and Joel came over. Some friends, Summer is the current president for Atheists of Utah, and her partner Joel came over, on Christmas Eve. And I started feeling a little bit sick. Like I had this sneezing fit where before I went over to Tracy's grandmother's house, I was just sitting in the kitchen and I'm the one who gets tasked with wrapping all of the presents because
you're a good rapper.
I'm a great rapper. I wrap presents really well. And so now I get to wrap all of the presents all the time. So I was home wrapping presents while she was cooking the meal and everything. But I'm sitting at the kitchen table and like, I had one of those really, really like stinging, itchy things right in my nose where you're like, oh my God, I'm going to sneeze, and your eyes start to water. And I had a big sneeze and then another sneeze after that. And then it was a little calm. And then it was just like 5 sneezes right in a row. Like when I finished, my eyes were watering and I felt like I was out of breath. Like I couldn't catch a breath between sneezes. And I was like, what the fuck, man? And then we went to dinner. That was all good. Came home and I felt like ass, like all week long. Just a nasty head cold, and just generally felt like shit. We had tickets to go see Aida at the Hill Center Theater, which is a brand new theater in the round theater that they built here. That's like the most technologically advanced theater in the United States right now, and it's supposed to be awesome and amazing. And we were going to go to the first show that they had there. We bought season tickets. And I was just too sick to go, so Tracy ended up taking my mom with her and then sending me pictures of how wonderful and amazing the theater is and what a great show it was. But yeah, they had a good time, but I ended up missing out on that. And I talked to you guys before the show that sometimes when I'm sick, you just get really sick and you feel like shit and you don't sleep well for a couple days. And then there's one night where you just basically pass out. And in the middle of the night last night, I woke up just drenched in sweat. And, I woke up and I was cold and shivering because I was sweating so much. But I got up, went to use the bathroom, got a cup of water, came back to bed, flipped my pillow over because it was soaking wet, crawled back into bed, slept the rest of the night, and woke up and I felt pretty fucking good. But
see, to me, that sounds like cocaine, but
I have never done cocaine.
I've never.
I mean,
that's one of the things that I'm like.
I've never done it.
I've always worried that I would like it too much, so I've steered away from it.
I've steered away from most heavy drugs because I worry about my, whether,
Yeah, I just have always been really paranoid that I would like it way too much, and so I've never done it.
And the fact that it's fairly addicting.
Well, yeah, that's it. Is that I would like it, and it's really addicting.
And I worry I have an addictive personality to begin with, so yeah, I kind of stay away from it.
Yeah, but yeah, it's just one of those things where every now and then when I get sick, and it's probably the majority of the time, but when I get sick and I just feel like shit for several days, and then one night it's like it all just sweats out of me, and I feel pretty good the next day. But I know I probably sound like I still have a bit of a cold, but I feel pretty good.
Really? I mean,
no, you sound all right.
Oh, good. Yay.
You sound like Dan.
You should have seen me yesterday.
Now, after you finish that glass of Jameson.
Oh, yeah, that's the other reason I'm probably feeling pretty good. I'm one large cocktail in already, and we're just starting the show.
It's going to be an extra ginger night.
So it should be fun. Yeah. Extra ginger, full of ginger beer and stuff.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Hey, everybody, it's X from the Utah Outcasts podcast and YouTube channel, and you're listening to the Godless Rebelution.
But, even if you're not a Christian, the point is the establishment is always saying you shouldn't have a religion, God isn't real, but then you find out the elites who are saying they're atheists, 9 times out of 10 in my research, they turn out to be occultists who are Luciferian or Satanist.
Alex Jones, unfortunately, has the IQ of a 10-year-old.
Well, how can he drive an RV?
But I will stomp your head in if you start a fight with me, you thug scum!
Rejoining the Godless Rebelution podcast now.
So Roy Moore still hasn't conceded the race. We knew that he wasn't going to do that, right? We've talked about that. I mentioned that he thinks he's on a fucking crusade for God, so there's no way that he's going to concede that he lost because Jesus can't lose.
No.
But it's done. It's over. They've officially said now that Doug Jones won the race. Roy Moore's protestations have been ruled stupid.
Yeah, but so do you think he's going to run again?
I wouldn't put it past him. Because
or if he runs again, will he run unopposed?
No, I don't know.
I don't think so, because I think a lot of people in the state are like, no, fuck you, you're a bad image.
You're a bad image. Well, I mean, it's time to go when you have Fox News contributors calling you a snowflake for not conceding the race, right? Kat Timpf on Fox Business had this to say about Roy Moore.
Cat, Roy Moore is not giving up. This, I would think bad for the party.
Acting like a snowflake, right? He needs to get on that horse and ride away into the sunset because this is absolutely ridiculous at this point. I watched that whole video and it's bananas. He talks about the collapse of society. He babbles about sodomy for a while. What? It's not what you do after you lose an election. After you lose an election, you admit that you lost, and it doesn't look good for the party. You're absolutely right. It's a laughingstock. It's a joke. You have to laugh so you don't cry. He needs to go away like a long time ago.
He shouldn't have been running in the first fucking place. Yeah. He should have been taken off of the ballot.
He should have been, and this, I mean, what she's saying mirrors what a lot of Republicans were saying before he's elected.
Yeah.
And yet, to your point about whether or run again, he still got nearly half the vote.
Yes.
He is still very popular in Alabama despite the allegations, despite the Republican Party not liking him, despite the establishment not liking him. He is popular in Alabama.
But he's not as popular as any other Republican would have been. For people that vote Republican just for the sake of voting Republican that have some morals in their bones, they say, oh, this guy, I can't vote for him because of his past, so I'm not going to vote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Versus they go, well, this is an upstanding Christian guy. I'm going to vote for him.
But I mean, he ran against, he was up against in the primaries against what's his name? He beat out, what's
the guy who Trump supported.
Yeah. I can't remember his name right now.
I can't think of his name right now.
Yeah,
but
Luther Strange.
Yeah.
Luther Strange.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Ryan with the recall. Nice job.
There you go. As soon as you said Luther, I'm like, that triggered like Doctor Strange in my mind.
I know something sometimes.
And I mean, he beat out Strange.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's popular down there.
You know, have you heard what fucking Trump? So Trump backed Strange in the primary, right? Yeah. And Strange lost.
Yep.
And then Roy Moore won the primary, and so Donald Trump supported him. And now Trump is saying, well, I knew he wasn't going to win anyway.
Told you all along.
I knew he wasn't going to win, but it was my job as the leader of the Republican Party to support Roy Moore. You're a fucking liar.
Yeah.
It's just Roy Moore didn't win, and so Trump can't be associated with a loser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking asshole.
Because he just wants to win. That's all Trump does is win.
But Roy Moore is never going to concede. We've got this clip from CNN Politics talking more about the election and certification.
Broke every record in the history of the state for a special election.
Tonight, Doug Jones officially certified by the state of Alabama to be its next U.S. Senator.
This election has been conducted with the utmost integrity, that it's been safe, secure, it's been credible.
In spite of a final Hail Mary from the Roy Moore campaign alleging potential voter fraud.
This election was fraudulent, and what we need to do is ask the Secretary of State to do his job and to investigate this.
Moore has refused to concede to Jones after losing the election earlier this month by more than 20,000 votes.
When the vote is this close, then it's not over.
But most Republicans, including the president, have called for Moore to concede.
As far as Roy Moore, yeah, it's certainly, I would certainly say he should.
And the state of Alabama says those voter fraud accusations just aren't true.
People are entitled to their own opinion, but they're not entitled to their own facts.
More
it's funny to hear a Republican say that.
Yeah.
To be honest, let's be honest. After the last 18 months.
No, he said you aren't entitled to your own facts, but he is because he's a Republican.
Yeah, that's what they're not entitled to their own. That's why they have to create alternate facts.
Yes,
alternate
that Kellyanne Conway can recite later.
More calling to delay certification until there is a thorough investigation and for a new special election. But minutes before the state certification, a circuit court judge denied Moore's complaint. The complaint alleges out-of-state residents had been allowed to vote and that election fraud experts concluded that fraud had taken place. One of those experts is Richard Charnin, who has blogged about JFK conspiracy theories and the murder of DNC staffer Seth Rich. And Moore is questioning the high voter turnout in Jefferson County, where a large percentage of the population is black, calling it highly unusual.
More than 47%. How fucking sad is that? That in one of the world's arguably most free democracies, the United States, where people have the right to vote, less than half of the people show out to do it. And when almost half show out,
it's unusual.
People are like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah.
That's highly unusual that half of the populace would give a fuck about the government that they're voting for.
Well, Roy Moore's probably like, that's unusual. We try to throw all the black names off of the registry so they couldn't vote.
Yeah, I'm sure that's
like,
part of it.
How the fuck did they do that? We got rid of their paperwork.
How did all those black people get out to vote? We've tried everything we can to make sure that they can't get out there and do that.
The Alabama Secretary of State says many voter fraud complaints have already been dismissed.
More than 60 of those have already been fully adjudicated and dismissed. But we have several that are still active, and we'll continue to investigate those until they are fully adjudicated.
Doug Jones' campaign released a statement saying, quote, "This desperate attempt by Roy Moore to subvert the will of the people will not succeed. The election is over. It's time to move on." Moore's complaint also brings up allegations he had relationships with teenage girls while he was in his 30s and several others accusing him of assault. Moore denied those accusations throughout his campaign.
These allegations are completely false. I did not date underage women. I did not molest anyone.
But today, he released an affidavit he signed of a polygraph test he says he took after the election over the allegations made against him. Moore states, quote, "The results of the examination reflected I did not know, nor had I ever had any sexual contact with these individuals."
Oh, so here's a document I signed saying I didn't have sexual relations with underage girls. So that's proof I didn't have sexual relations with underage girls because my signature is on it.
Well, and he fucking lied.
I signed it
when he says he never had when he says he never dated with underage girls. His fucking
wife is 15 when you met her.
Yeah, what a fucking liar! I mean, he fucking lies about shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he started to court her.
Like, we don't need a polygraph test when we can look at the person who's standing right fucking next to you, asshole. God damn it. And that's weird to me, right? That in the age of Trump, people think they can just say whatever the fuck they want because it's all fake news anyway. I can just say whatever. Well, and if you call me out on it, I'll say it's fake news and you're wrong and you're lying. And whoever wants to believe me will believe me.
Well, but the reality is in the age of Trump, that's because it works.
Yeah.
Right.
They can do that.
Yeah,
they can get away with that shit.
Why do you think that is though? I mean, is it the people are that stupid or they're that tribal or they're that...
I think it's the tribal part because even one of the cities that he used saying there was voter fraud there, that doesn't exist. I still saw people out on KSL News on the blog there citing that town. I've heard people on Facebook cite it. It's like, the place isn't fucking real. The news already called him out on this fucking place not existing that he says voter fraud happened in.
I don't
still cite it.
I don't think there's any one reason that you can pinpoint. I mean, there may be a majority of people that fall into a certain category, but I mean, I think different people do it for different reasons, whether it's self-interest, thinking about the economy and their own personal self-interest relative to money, whether they think liberals are just inherently evil. And, there's the whole, abortion thing and that, I think there are a wide variety of reasons why.
A million justifications
why people will rationalize this shit in their own mind.
Yeah.
To say that a fucking pedophile is better than an evil Democrat.
which is funny when you talk about the abortion thing, because I saw the other day on one of Trump's tweets, it said
Doug Jones wants to abort babies, Roy Moore wants to fuck them.
Pretty much. It didn't have the fucking part in there, but saying don't vote Democrat because they want to kill millions of innocent babies. And I tweeted back to Donald Trump, fetuses are not babies.
Yeah.
And someone else chimed in there, I guess you're a fetus then. I'm like, really?
What does that mean?
I had a copy. They said, because I said that because the whole fetus argument, and they came back at me and said, well, my phone is loading photos.
What does that even fucking mean, though, that you must be a fetus then?
Because I don't fucking know. Yeah. Oh, I said, zygote. I said a zygote. What Donald Trump said is, but Democrats can justify murdering millions of babies. And I reply with, a zygote isn't a baby. So then someone replies back to me then, well, you're a zygote then. And his name's Castle Rock with an American flag and a cross and a soldier in his picture.
No eagle? Come on.
There might be I don't think you can fit an eagle in there. Then my response back was, that's the kind of rebuttal I expected from a Trump-supporting drone obsessed with ancient fairy tales. I didn't get a response from that. But yeah.
It was probably a bot.
Fucking weirdos,
No,
man.
it's on Trump's thing, so it's probably not a bot. It's probably someone actually who just sees you. Well, you're a zygote then, I guess, because...
Trump! Just Trump! Merca.
But I hate those responses.
Oh, fucking Trump supporters. They're so desperate. They are so desperate to make him into
a god.
This god. This new age Reagan, our generation Reagan. They're just so desperate that
Well, and all of the shit around Reagan being this great leader, he wasn't as bad as Bush or as bad as Trump, but he wasn't terrific.
Well, he still had the failed war on drugs, the failed economic plans,
the Iran
Contra scandal. He raised taxes 7 times.
Yeah.
I mean, very selective memories when it comes to Reagan.
Yeah, and then he
But he was a good religious guy, so that's all they remember.
Then he had Alzheimer's and was fucking delusional for the last 2 years of his presidency.
I think Republicans are just so pissed off that the left has Roosevelt and has Kennedy as these national heroes, and they wanted a national hero. And they've been waiting for one.
And they can't have Lincoln because he freed the slaves, and fuck that then.
Yeah.
And he was way too liberal.
He was a fucking liberal. So Reagan was their first chance at a national hero. And now they're trying to create a second out of Trump.
Which is going to fail. Oh, did you see
that's the most, you might as well be, what is Sisyphus pushing the rock up the fucking hill over and over again. You're not going to get that out of Donald fucking Trump.
No.
Well, did you see what he tweeted out yesterday, I think it was?
Huh.
I've passed more bills since Truman. And then someone had to point out the statistics, like, no, you passed the least amount of bills since Truman.
Well, everything is sized with that guy.
Yeah,
I mean,
I've done more. It's doing more.
The biggest tax cut, the biggest. I mean, it's all lies.
Big water. But this article on CNN concludes with, and the title for this post on CNN is, "Here's Why Roy Moore Will Never Concede." And it concludes with, "When you're on a crusade, there is no such thing as losing. You can be temporarily vanquished by those trying to block your righteous quest, but you can never really be stopped. Because your crusade is bigger than any mere campaign, bigger than a 22,000 vote losing margin, bigger than 3 Republican elected officials certifying that your Democratic opponent won the race, bigger than Steve Bannon signaling it's time to go, bigger even, gasp, than Donald Trump."
Nothing's bigger than Trump. I mean, come on.
It's for those reasons that Moore was never going to concede the Senate race, and why no one should be surprised if he decides to challenge Governor Kay Ivey in a Republican primary in 2018, or even if he runs for Senate against Doug Jones in 2020 when Moore will be 73 years old.
Yeah.
The Senate campaign may be over for most people, but for Moore, the campaign and the crusade continues.
Yeah.
Maybe by the time he runs next, he can learn how to ride a horse.
It looked like he was going to fall off at a couple points.
Well, that's what I guess a bunch of horse experts kind of chimed in. Like, he doesn't know what he's doing.
Fuck you and the horse you don't know how to ride.
I think Mika Brzezinski was talking about it because she's a big equestrian, and she was like, "Yeah, he doesn't know shit about horses.
He just wants to look like an all-American John Wayne cowboy."
But I mean, to your point earlier about whether he'll run again, I think he could.
I think he will make an attempt at it. If the party will let him in.
I don't think he'll care. I think he'll make a run one way or the other. I think he has a better shot than most.
Well, I think the reason
Alabamans like him. I mean, they
like him. They
reelected him twice to
be a judge.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's the moderate.
Half of them voted for him. He won the primary, and near half of them voted for.
I think it's the moderate Republicans that came out and said, "No, fuck you, Moore. We're not."
No, it was the motivated black people.
Well, yeah, them.
But fucking stopped Roy Moore.
Yeah.
But even then, I think because when they showed the number of votes, where there was 22,000 votes for third-party candidates that were all bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
That's a lot. I mean, that would have turned it.
Well, yeah, and shit.
That's where I was talking about, like the moderate Republicans that showed up to vote, but just didn't vote for him.
Yeah.
Or Roy Moore.
But they wouldn't vote for Doug Jones.
No, they wouldn't vote for Doug Jones. They wouldn't vote for Roy Moore. So they put in
Dan
peanut butter.
Dan has.
Oh yeah, I've got that clip queued up here too. Let's check that.
The title of this is "Santa and SpongeBob Helped Doug Jones."
Chuck Norris, Bugs Bunny,
What's up, Doc?
SpongeBob, and even Jesus Christ. All of those names played a role in electing Democrat Doug Jones to the U.S. Senate in Alabama over Roy Moore. There were more than 22,000 write-in votes cast in the highly watched race. That number exceeded the margin of Jones's victory. Mickey Mouse, Santa Claus, and the ghost of Stonewall Jackson didn't really stand a chance. Neither did one of the more mainstream write-ins.
Jeff Sessions.
Republicans, unwilling to cross party lines but unhappy with Moore, presumably wrote in these names after he was accused of sexual assault.
Neither a better choice. Any other Republican.
Anyone else.
And
Busby.
It's nothing new.
Convictional inaction.
In the recent New York race for mayor, citizens cast votes for Michael Bloomberg, President Trump, and even Knicks star Kristaps Porzingis. Jesus Christ, fresh off his losses in the 2012 and 2016 presidential elections, also made an appearance.
3 votes.
On the ballot. Big Bird, SpongeBob, and Wonder Woman did too. Now, just writing a name in doesn't mean that your vote will count. 9 states don't allow writing candidates for president. Of the 41 states that do, most require a candidate to file paperwork in advance. But that hasn't stopped voters. In 2008, Republican John McCain received a write-in vote for president. Why was that different? Because his name was already on the ballot. The voter's note clarified, quote, John McCain of 2000, not 2008. Totally different. End quote.
John McCain of 2000, not 2008, when he picked fucking Sarah Palin, to be his running mate.
But there were more write-in votes.
You hear about her and her son?
Oh yeah.
That was crazy.
We should talk about that later for sure. Yeah.
But Alabama had more write-in votes than fucking New York.
Uh-huh.
And New York is way fucking bigger, more population than Alabama. That's why I was saying with the moderate Republicans that couldn't dare vote for Roy Moore because of what he had done in his past.
Yeah.
If there was a person that was better in there, that's a lot of, it's more votes than he won by, like they said. So that's a possibility of bringing that within at least a recount area. Not saying Doug Jones won to still won.
Denied any.
Yeah.
But it brings it way closer if it would have been a better.
I'm not saying he'll ever win in a future election, but it wouldn't surprise me if he ran, and if he ran, he'd get a shit ton of votes.
I hope that. I mean, like Alabama's a good 50 years behind the rest of, but behind more modern areas like California, New York, anywhere.
Not Utah.
On the coast, basically, Alabama's like 50 years behind, right? So when they say, which is kind of weird too, because they're still in that whole, let's make America great again, take it back to the 50s. Well, you're still fucking living in the 50s.
They're beyond it. There still has Doctors Without Borders will show up to Alabama for a week to give fucking medical care to people that can't fucking afford it when they come out of the fucking mountains. They do that shit in third world countries, and they're having to fucking set up tents in fucking football stadiums in Alabama to fucking give medical aid to people because they don't fucking have any.
I'm really glad that Doug Jones won.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that there was a large enough voter turnout to reject Moore, but I'm still so surprised and dismayed and disheartened and saddened by the fact that so fucking many people still voted for Roy Moore.
Yeah, I'm dismayed that it was as close as it was.
Well, I'm actually surprised Doug Jones won.
Yeah.
Out of 120,000 plus votes, it came down to 20,000 votes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I honestly, because I was watching it live at work, just kind of had it playing on the TV and with the counts going on, I'm like.
I thought he was going to win. I thought Roy Moore would win.
Oh yeah, I thought Roy Moore would win too. Then it got to a point where it was like 85%, and Doug Jones was like 2,000 votes behind Roy Moore, and the biggest county in the state hadn't come in yet. And I was texting, I'm like, Doug Jones might come through on this, and that county started coming in. I'm like, he's 2,000 up, he's 3,000 up, he's 4,000 up, he's 5,000 up. And I'm like, he's like 15,000 up with 95% of the vote in. He's fucking winning. I'm like, Doug Jones just fucking won this shit.
I mean, and you gotta imagine, I mean, McConnell and all those fucks up in Washington, they were probably sweating bullets.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they dodged a big one here.
Mm-hmm.
Not having to deal with, well, do I have that right? Is it McConnell or?
Well,
yeah,
Ryan.
it's McConnell. He was running for Senate, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, McConnell's.
He was running. Okay, so it'd be McConnell.
Turtle Man.
Yeah, I mean, because they didn't want to have to deal with that.
Well, Ryan is sent at McConnell's house.
Oh, Ryan's. Oh, okay.
Well, they were even trying to think of ways to be like, okay, how do we keep him from actually being able to take a seat?
Right. And so, yeah, I mean, do we open an ethics investigation? I mean, they didn't want to have to deal with this shit. So, yeah, they were sweating fucking bullets, and yeah, they dodged a big one here.
Hi, I'm Lucian Greaves, spokesperson and co-founder of the Satanic Temple. Check out my website, grayfaction.org, if you want to be disgusted and alarmed. You're listening to Godless Rebelution.
I remember making an absolute, well, I won't say fool of myself. I was expelled from a meeting of Latter-day Saints when I first went to Salt Lake City. I just literally, as a tourist, I was wandering around, and this person in a grey shift came up to me and said, "Would you like to see around?" And I said, "Well, that's very kind." And then she started gathering others, and I realized she was a Mormon who was doing a tour, and presumably there was a little bit of recruitment going along, because they're a very proselytizing sect, as you know, the Mormons. Anyway, but she gave us a good tour, and we saw this tabernacle here and this here and so on. And then at one point she said, "I just want to tell you a little about the Church of Latter-day Saints." And we all politely stood. And then she said how in the afterlife, all families will be reunited, and you'll be with your families forever. So I put my hand up and said, "But what happens if you've been good?" She said, "Could you leave, please?" Because everyone started laughing. But I mean, what a ridiculous idea. How is that supposed to be attractive? That you're going to be stuck with every aunt and every cousin and every, oh, good gracious, every, alcoholic or slightly deviant uncle. I mean, Jesus, it's just the most awful destiny imaginable. And they think that's a USP. That's what our church promises. Good Lord.
Thanks for listening. Now back to the show.
There was some good news.
Yeah, finally.
Coming out of the court systems, that the Sweet Cakes lost their appeal.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, poor Sweet Cakes.
But, I mean, did they really lose?
Yes.
Lost, well, for now, I mean, we're talking state appeal.
Yeah, I mean, they lost that, but they got rich off of this.
Not really.
Did you see how much money was donated to them?
Oh, well.
Versus how much they had to pay out?
To run it out of their house. But, well, according to even the people at Sweet Cakes, they've lost everything.
Yeah.
She loved her business, and oh no, what are we going to do now that we can't be bigots in public, and we can't turn away gay people for wanting to have cakes made for them? Oh, woe is me. I'm so sad now.
So, but the Colorado shop also had to close.
The chap?
Shop, yeah, chap.
Oh, chap?
Chap. Yeah, it's new.
The shap?
It's new lingo. Get used to it. It's going to be happening in 2018. But, so, with the Oregon place, their fine was, what was it, $213,000 somewhere around that?
$135,000.
Oh, $135,000. I saw it through their GoFundMe. They got $500,000 in donations from lovely Christians giving them money so they could fight their case and they could pay their fines.
Isn't that ever so nice?
Yet they still couldn't afford to keep their shop open.
But I wonder how much of that money is going to the lawyers for all the appeals.
The bulk of it.
That's true. But these Republicans that love our capitalistic society, that are mad they had to close their doors because they're no longer getting business.
Aww.
Like they want someone to keep them open. Like a socialist type thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
But you shouldn't complain. If you have enough customers that are coming to you that believe you're in the right, you should have more than enough to stay open.
Yes. Yeah.
So you having to shut your doors basically means a lot of people think you're a fucking bigot.
Yeah.
And they use their our capitalistic society to say, guess what? We're not going to give your place any fucking business.
Well, this story comes to us from Oregon Live. It says the title of the story, or the headline is, Appeals Court Upholds Fine Against Christian Bakers Who Refuse to Make Same-Sex Wedding Cake. It says the Oregon Court of Appeals on Thursday upheld a decision by Oregon's Labor Commission that forced 2 Gresham bakers to pay $135,000 to a lesbian couple for whom the bakers refused to make a wedding cake. Melissa and Aaron Klein made national headlines in 2013 when they refused to bake a cake for Rachel and Laura Bowman-Cryer, citing their Christian beliefs. The Bowman-Cryers complained to the Oregon Bureau of Labor and Industries, saying they had been refused service because of their sexual orientation. An administrative law judge ruled that the Klein's Bakery, Sweet Cakes by Melissa, violated a law that bans discrimination based on sexual orientation in places that serve the public. Brad Avakian, the state labor commissioner, affirmed heavy damages against the Kleins for the Bowman-Cryers' emotional and mental distress. The decision will likely be the most controversial ruling and the one with the biggest impact handed down by Avakian during his nearly 10 years in the role. He has decided not to seek re-election when his term expires next year. The Kleins appealed Avakian's decision, arguing for a religious exemption for the Oregon Equality Act.
Which is fucking bullshit.
Yeah, I want the right to be a bigot. The anti-discrimination law. They also argued Avakian was biased against them, that his actions violated their rights to free expression as artists and their right to due process, and that the fine was excessive. But in their ruling Thursday, a panel of state appeals court judges sided with Avakian, saying the Kleins did, in fact, deny the Bowman-Cryers because they were lesbians. The judges also rejected the Kleins' argument that Avakian's ruling violated state and federal free speech protections. In the ruling, Judge Chris Garrett wrote that Avakian's order does not violate the Kleins' free speech rights because it simply, quote, requires their compliance with a neutral law, end quote. Garrett also wrote that the Kleins have made no showing that the state targeted them for enforcement because of their religious beliefs, which is a key point here, right?
Yeah.
It's not that we're saying you can't do that because you're religious. It's that you can't use your religion to do this. And it's a small but important distinction.
Yeah, and I hate it when we keep hearing the argument saying, well, if the KKK came in there and asked them to make a KKK cake, would you say they're forced to make that cake? Like, well, no, that's different.
There are no protections for being a member of the fucking KKK and wanting a cake made.
And this couple went in to order a cake they already make. There was nothing special about it.
Yeah,
it was a cake they already fucking produce.
Yeah, but even then, you do have the right to refuse service to somebody saying that they want to make you a KKK cake because there is no law saying that you have to make a cake for the KKK.
Yeah. And unless you already make a KKK cake. If you already make a KKK cake, that's hard to say multiple times over again. And then you deny the KKK from having that cake, then it'd be like, oh, well, yeah, but they already make it and they're saying I can't buy it. And that's the one that's made for me. Why can't I have it?
I mean, as a business, you can discriminate against a wide variety of people, but you cannot discriminate against those for whom there are laws protecting those as special classes.
Yeah.
Well, and the beauty, not the beauty, but I mean, the amazing thing, you can discriminate against gays and lesbians. You can discriminate against blacks. You can discriminate against a whole bunch of people as long as you don't fucking say it.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
true.
And it's really, unless you're outwardly saying, I don't serve black people. I mean, you can kick black people. I mean, there's a practical reality that's kind of hard to prove.
Yeah.
Unless you are explicit. And so the only way you can prove it is if you're very explicit about your discrimination.
Mm-hmm.
And so the only way they lost this case is the fact that they were very explicit that they weren't serving them because they were gay.
Yeah, if they would have said, sorry, we're too booked up this time of the year right now, we don't have time to make a wedding cake.
Yeah.
None of it would have happened.
Well, Grant, at one point in our friendship and in serving on the board for Atheists of Utah, you ended up choking somebody.
I did?
Yeah. You had someone by the throat.
Yes.
Who was
I remember
who wanted to attack me.
Yes.
Because
in a public restaurant.
So let me start this story from the beginning here.
Oh my God, this is a whole story.
So once upon a time, atheists of Utah wanted to print some shirts for the Pride Festival.
Yeah.
And on the shirts, I don't even remember exactly what the slogan was, but it was something like, gotta be real because God isn't, or something like that.
It was like 2 years ago or something.
Yeah,
it was like
3 or 4.
This was a number of years ago.
But it was in keeping with the theme of the Pride Festival. I think it was gotta be real. And so
God ain't.
Yeah, so the slogan that we wanted on the shirt was gotta be real because God ain't. And so we solicited business from local printing shops because we want to try to keep business local for our fellow Utahns, whatever. One company that we contacted, we said, hey, we want to get this number of shirts printed on this particular shirt material in these varying sizes. This is the number we want. Can you give us a quote for that? They came back, gave us the quote. We said, okay, great. Here's the artwork. We'd like it by whatever date, whatever. They got the artwork, and then they said, oh, no, we're not going to do that. And so me, in trying to ferret out their exact reason why they didn't want to do that, had this email chain back and forth with one of the owners of the shop. And I wanted her to say explicitly why they were refusing our business.
Right.
And I even put in the emails back and forth with them that, look, I understand that you may not want to print this. And, and their response was, oh, well, we're a Christian business and we don't want to print this. And
they're going to hell if they do.
And so my response to them was, okay, well, I want to make sure of your reasoning behind this. And I want you to be very careful. And I stated this in my emails to the company. And said, I want you to be very clear in your communication back with us exactly why you are refusing our business, because there are laws governing the situation in which the situation in which you can say that you don't want to do this. If you're discriminating against us specifically because we are atheists, you can't fucking do that. If you want to tell me that you don't want to do it just because you don't particularly agree with the message on the shirt, that's fine. You can do that. But
or just say you don't want to do it, period.
Right.
Without any justification whatsoever.
Right.
Yeah.
And
can
so
get away with it.
Yeah, and so
they have to be high and mighty about it.
Yeah.
They have to waive
expose their religion.
Yeah. So we exchanged several different emails back and forth with me trying to ferret out the exact reason why, and didn't ever really get to the bottom of it. And there were a bunch of libertarians in the group associated who were atheists in Utah, who may not even be paying members of Atheists of Utah, but who were nonetheless complaining that here's big bad atheists of Utah, as if we have all of this power here, stomping on a small mom and pop shirt printing business here in the state. And, we look like big bullies because we're doing this, and businesses should be able to decide who they're going to do business with and decline any business they want, whatever.
That's a fucking myth.
Yeah, that's fucking wrong. It's just fucking
not
wrong.
Allowed to just, no.
There's laws. We'll maybe later in the show we can have a longer discussion about why the libertarian view of that is so fucking wrong.
Yeah.
But, so getting back to the main gist of why Grant was choking somebody.
Yeah, this is, I don't think I've ever even heard about this, the assault that Grant committed.
I did not commit an assault.
Grant was trying to see, Grant intervened.
Hear the story out.
So we had a member on the board who, I was president at the time, this person was vice president, and, there was some...
I was a lowly treasurer. I was just a treasurer.
That whole thing seems silly to me anyway, because the Board for Atheists of Utah is a fully democratic board. We have to have titles by law.
Votes,
but it's the president doesn't have more of a vote than anybody else, but they're the person who, because of the title, everybody contacts and looks to for information, whatever.
And you're a better person for that than anyone else was at the time.
Well, yeah, nobody else wanted to be the person who everybody would send email to.
I'm not a social person. I don't like people. I don't want to interact with anyone.
So
I mean, I'm okay with this podcast because it's like one way. Anyone debates me about anything I say on here, it's like, fuck you.
So because nobody else wanted to do it, I was president of Atheists of Utah. And this person was vice president, and apparently they were getting some blowback from some of their friends who were upset that we were, so when all of this went down, I made a post and said, there's a local business who is denying business to us after they initially gave us a quote. We sent them the artwork, and now they're saying they're not going to do it. They won't tell us why exactly. Trying to ferret it out, blah, blah, blah. We're just letting everybody know for people who are atheists in Utah who may need printing services, I wanted to make it clear that, hey, you may not want to do business with this particular company because they may not want to work with you. Fine, good, whatever. But apparently there were some people who had a huge problem with that came back to the vice president and complained to that person. And then that person came to me and voiced their concerns. And when the vice president approached me with that, I said, well, fine. So
they can go there if they want to.
They're upset that they have, so they have this misperception of the thing that is actually happening, and they're upset by that. Fine. Tell them to come and talk to me about it, and I'd be happy to educate them, talk to them, do whatever. And the vice president was just like, oh, okay, whatever. And then it got to the point where it went back and forth, and the vice president was very upset. And I can't remember exactly what had happened, but we decided to have a board meeting, and I can't remember why we all figured that something
I remember bits
may
and
happen.
Pieces. So you and Tracy and the VP had exchanged a bunch of text messages over the couple of days before the board meeting.
Yeah.
And he was being especially disrespectful to Tracy.
Oh, which he always was. He was a fucking dick.
He was saying some and his anger was escalating.
Yeah.
More and more and more.
I think a lot of that was because it was I think he had a problem with hearing from a woman that he was wrong.
That was probably a big part of it. Your personality is a big part of it because you tend to approach things like this sometimes from a bit of a snarky kind of perspective. Yeah. And he was genuinely mad. And so when you kind of get your kind of snarkiness on, that's my natural defense. My natural defense is comedy, right? Like, I will disarm you with comedy, and if that doesn't work, then I'm going to have to beat your ass. And that just made him mad. So we went to a board meeting. It was at that microbrewery at Trolley.
Desert Edge.
Desert Edge. Where
Desert Edge.
Yeah, not Deseret.
Desert. Oh, okay. Yeah. Because we had nowhere, I don't know. We just did board meetings at restaurants for some reason. And we kind of knew he was going to come in angry.
That he was angry. Yeah.
That he was angry. And we all
guns
showed
blazing
up before he did.
Yeah.
We were all there at the table.
Yeah.
And there were only a handful of people at the restaurant. I remember this very clearly. So he comes in. And he comes in raging. He comes in angry. You could tell he's not yelling, but the rage.
Oh, he was totally fucking mad. Like he
throws these papers down on the table.
Well, yeah, because the table that we had picked, we had there's one wall of the restaurant that is all windows that you can look down onto the courtyard for anybody approaching the restaurant.
Ah, so you can see your victim coming.
Yeah, so we saw that he had arrived and was walking in toward the restaurant, and we were like, okay, well, time to get our game faces on. Here he comes.
And I was on the other side of the table with my back. He was coming up behind me. You guys were all against the wall. I
wasn't against the wall. I was on the same table as you, but I was closer to the window. You were closer to where he approached. Yeah.
And he comes in angry. I forget what he yelled. But he threw these papers down.
He said, "Here's the fucking mail."
Whatever, mail.
Because he had the key to the mailbox.
He had the key to the mailbox. And you say something snarky.
So
I forget what you say.
Well, so he comes
you call
in,
him the postman?
Yeah, well, no. So he comes in, and at this point, I wasn't actively looking for him to walk through the restaurant over to where we were in the corner. I just knew that he was going to be there soon, and so I'm talking to Tracy and Tiffany, who were sitting across the table from me. There was, me and Grant on one side of the table, Tiffany and Tracy on the other side of the table, and I'm sitting closest to the window, Grant's sitting closest to the end of the table where the vice president was approaching from. So he comes in, and I'm talking to Tiffany and Tracy, and I've got my arms on the table, just sitting there, and a bunch of stuff hit me in the arm, and I hear, "Here's the fucking mail." And I turned and I was like, and I thought maybe he was just joking around initially. And so I turned and I was like, "Oh, hey." And he's like, "Yeah, that's it. It's done. I've posted it on Facebook already. I'm fucking quitting. You guys can go fuck yourselves." And then he got in my face. Like, he leaned over you and got in my face and started pointing at me right in my face and was like, spittle flying out of his mouth. And he's like, "And if you say one fucking word, I'm going to give you a black fucking eye." And then he turned to leave, and I just turned in my chair. And while I'm still sitting, I said, "Hey, great to see you, Alan."
And at this point, he lunged.
He lost his fucking shit.
He lost it. He lunged. and at that point, I jump up.
You went into Daddy Dragon mode.
I jump up. I'm fucking 6'4".
Yeah.
And, I'm bigger than, I don't know why my hand went to his throat. It could have been his chest or his head or anything. I don't know why I chose his throat. It was just kind of instinct.
So Grant stands up and just like, so Grant stands up and he grabs the guy by the throat. And,
well, you've already said the name.
Yeah. So Grant stands up and he grabs Alan by the throat. And Alan, meantime, is just like thrashing and still trying to get at me while I'm just
Tables
sitting there.
are going over. Chairs are going over.
I'm still just sitting in my chair smiling like a fucking idiot.
Which is probably going to make him more enraged.
I'm sure it did. Like, I just had this shit-eating grin on my face, and I'm thinking to myself, like, "Oh, buddy, you'd better hope that Grant doesn't let you go, because this is going to be a lot of fun for me." So I'm just sitting in my chair with a shit-eating grin on my face while he's like, Grant's got him by the throat just yelling, "Alan! Alan! Alan! Alan!"
And Alan and I don't have a negative relationship. I didn't love the guy. I didn't hate the guy. I mean, we had a cordial relationship.
Yeah.
So I was trying to calm the guy down and just keep him off and not cause a scene, which we were clearly
kind of too late.
Yeah.
Tables were being overturned.
Well, yeah, but at this point, he's like, Grant's got him by the throat, and Alan is like grabbing chairs and tables and flipping them over and tossing them, still trying to get at me and everything.
In the restaurant.
Yeah, the few patrons in the restaurant all turning or staring, and like the staff starts to congregate and come out toward our table and everything. And finally Grant's like, Alan, you need to stop and you need to leave. And he finally just like he didn't have any more chairs or tables to throw within the vicinity. So Grant let him go and he turned to leave. And the staff came over and they're like, "Oh, I think we need to ask you guys to leave." And we were like, "No, that guy was the problem. He's leaving now. Everything is going to be fine." But yeah, so it was this whole big to do, and it was a lot of fun. And then there was a ton of shit after that,
and then you had cake.
And then we had cake. But there are things that, I wanted to find out why exactly they were refusing our business.
Yeah.
And because there are
back to the original, back to the original point.
So there are laws in place that say you can't refuse business to somebody based on their religious beliefs
or irreligious.
Right. And so I wanted to find out if it was that they didn't want to do it just because they're Christian and didn't feel comfortable, whatever, or if it was because we are atheists, and she wouldn't fucking specifically tell me. So we went back and forth. That's how this all came out. But I can't even remember what got us started on this whole thing.
But the problem with sweet cakes and the Colorado case and the other case is that they could have done that if they had just kept silent like this Salt Lake.
Yeah.
But no, they want to wave their dick around. They want to show that they're morally pure. They want to show that they're
good, God-fearing people,
better than everyone else.
Yeah,
and we're not going to accept that homosexual agenda.
Exactly. And that's going to land you in court, and you're going to lose.
Yeah, and I think one of the big ththings that kind of screwed the sweet cakes people over, which I was reading another article, that couple had already ordered that cake previously for their mother's, one of their mother's, I can't remember if it was a birthday or an anniversary, for the cake for that. And they liked the cake, so they wanted to get that cake for their wedding.
Oh.
And then when came in for their wedding to get it, now you can't get it because it's for your lesbian wedding. If it's for something else, it's perfectly fine, but I will not make you a cake for your wedding.
I hadn't even heard that aspect.
That was when the first story I'd read on this, I can't remember if it's like a Washington Post story or which one it was, said that that couple had actually previously bought cakes from them.
Okay. Yeah.
And it was that cake that they wanted for their wedding cake because they liked it.
Yeah. But so they lost their appeal.
Yeah.
And the lesbian couple will now finally get the money that has been owed to them since, I think, 2013.
Well, that's when it happened.
So that's a question. This just happened. So, I mean, the next step is SCOTUS, and they could appeal to SCOTUS. But that's a question. What will they do that? Will they wait for the SCOTUS ruling on Colorado?
Yeah. Because that might, if the Colorado case would be a precedent, they might not even look at the Oregon case.
Right. So if Colorado comes back in favor of the bakery, if SCOTUS comes back in favor of the bakery,
I see them going then.
Then what are they going to do? Are they going to reappeal to state? Are they going to appeal to SCOTUS?
I could see them appealing to SCOTUS.
It's not necessarily over.
Well, and the monetary damages that were awarded to the lesbian couple weren't necessarily just because the cake was denied them and a refusal of service. It was because Sweet Cakes took their information and posted it publicly, basically fucking doxed the couple.
Oh, shit.
And then they started getting death threats and people driving by their house and threatening. And then they had adopted a couple kids. And so all of these reports to DCFS about all these false reports about child abuse, it overturned their entire lives. And it was because the people at Sweet Cakes had doxed them and put out all of their private information. That's what they were awarded the monetary damages.
That nice Christian couple.
Yeah, so I don't even know if they can appeal that.
Yeah,
that's why they were awarded the money in the first place.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, fuck them and fuck libertarians for thinking that you can just deny people based on whatever reason you want. The invisible hand of the market will fix that shit, because it won't. It didn't fucking fix slavery for 400 goddamned years.
But it would have if Lincoln hadn't gotten involved.
And I saw
an article. If we had just bought all the slaves, I mean, we could have saved a whole bunch of money by buying all the slaves.
Yeah.
And, that would have fixed slavery.
Let's talk about that in a second.
I'm confused.
It's a libertarian argument.
This is Phil Ferguson of the cleverly titled The Phil Ferguson Show, and thank God you're listening to the Godless Rebelution.
Let's be honest. That's what makes America weak, is empathy. When we care about those less fortunate than ourselves, that's what's bringing us down. It's that kind of altruistic attitude that weakens us as a nation. Sure. Ask Ayn Rand. She'll tell you. Ask Ayn Rand. I believe you can still find her ghost haunting the same public housing she died in while on Social Security and Medicare. Public housing on Social Security and Medicare. Oh, that is what we call in the business a real hypocritical cunt. That's what we call it.
Thank you to everybody who has rated the show on iTunes and Stitcher and are following us on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. And to all our Patreon patrons, you make the show possible.
In getting back to the libertarian stuff and why a lot of libertarian views from younger people really bother me, they really rub me the wrong way, is that they seem ignorant of all of history. like all of history, all of American history, they seem completely fucking ignorant of. Yeah. They think that somehow the invisible hand of the market is just going to sweep in and fix everything. And if a corporation is doing something wrong, then people just won't go to that corporation because word of mouth will get around and everybody will stop visiting that business.
It's such an amazingly simplistic and childish view of the world.
It's so naive, right?
It's so naive. It's that Ayn Rand kind of, it's idiotic. The world doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't. And beyond being completely ignorant of world history, specifically United States history as it pertains to, segregation first slavery and then segregation in the United States and the lunch counter protests and the bus protests, everything that the civil rights movement achieved, and then the passage of the 1964 Civil Rights Act that guaranteed certain rights for these minority groups.
They still had to fight for it once that passed.
Yeah, they did. But I read this article earlier that polled people just in the United States saying, do you think that the sit-ins and the bus protests are helping civil rights or hurting it? And overwhelmingly, the people that responded said, oh no, it's hurting the cause. And we see parallels for that with the
resist
with the
protests.
Black Lives, with resist and with Black Lives Matter. We see the same type of thing where people who aren't in those minority groups and just are upset that people are upset are saying that, oh, well, by them acting this way, they're just hurting their cause. They should just, I don't know what, sit back and be quiet and take the abuse that they've been handed for hundreds and hundreds of years.
Trevor Noah did an incredible little rhyme thing about the appropriate way for a black to protest.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
It was I can't recite it. Maybe we could look it up at some point, but there is no right way for a minority to protest. You can't do it quietly, you can't do it loudly, you can't do it sitting or standing. You just
kneeling,
can't. You can't do it. Period.
Yeah. People are going to complain about how you're protesting no matter how you do it.
Yeah.
And they're always going to say that what you're doing is hurting your cause rather than helping your cause. But the reality is that that's just fucking factually wrong.
Yeah.
They're calling attention to a perceived harm, not even just perceived, but an actual harm. And they're calling attention to that. And as they're calling attention to that, white people become very distressed that, oh, well, I'm not going to be able to do these things anymore. I'm not going to be able to treat people as second-class citizens. Well, I won't have that. They need to stop that. They need to stop that protest because it's making me uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Well, the other one I hate is with, when Colin Kaepernick started the kneeling. They're saying, well, he's a rich celebrity. He's not being oppressed. It's like, he's not doing it for himself. He's not saying he personally has been oppressed, but he's looking at what's going on around society and people who don't have a fucking voice. And he's going to say something for him. Because he has a platform.
You can't protest if you're rich.
Well,
yeah, that's where they're going. Like, oh, he's rich. He should be protesting.
They say the same thing about all the people in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Everyone in Hollywood who has a voice and who says something politically motivated or whatever. It's the same fucking argument. Black, white, whatever. It's the same goddamn argument. Well, you're just a Hollywood elite. You're rich. I mean, why should we listen to you?
And they may not have the loudest voice, but they have the highest platform. I could sit in the streets and scream and scream and scream, and no one will hear me.
That's what they're fucking pissed off about. That's why they're pissed off at
because
Kaepernick.
Someone with a high platform
is not that they're protesting or that they're rich. It's that they have a platform that's bigger than yours. They have a bigger audience than you, and you will never get the audience that they have, and that's what pisses them off.
Well, and the thing about the NFL protests and the kneeling and Kaepernick and everything that really bothers me more than people just complaining about it is that they're complaining about something that he modified to try to
appease them.
To try to appease them in the first fucking place. Like, he didn't start out kneeling.
He was sitting.
Yeah, he started by just sitting on the bench and not doing anything. And I believe it was a U.S. Marine vet who contacted him and said, hey, I think that's...
Kneeling is a sign of respect.
That you're being disrespectful, whatever. And to show respect, you should take a knee instead.
Yeah.
You should take a knee instead. You don't have to participate, whatever, but take a knee as a sign of respect.
Mm-hmm.
And people still lost their fucking minds.
Yeah.
Because they don't know any of the fucking history about it. They don't know about all of the oppression. They don't know about the killing of black people for no fucking reason, for just running down the road or wearing a hoodie or selling loose cigarettes or what have you. And they don't know that Colin Kaepernick did the kneeling as a compromise to try to appease people, and they're still fucking upset about that. Like, there's no way. Grant mentioned it earlier that there's no way that they could protest that people would say, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Well, they also don't know the history that it was only within the last decade or two that the NFL even started coming out for the anthem to begin with.
Right.
And the only reason they came after that was for commercial reasons.
Advertising dollars,
For advertising dollars.
Because we were fighting 2 wars and the army and the military was pitching in money to get more fucking troops.
Yeah.
It was post 9/11 when that shit started happening.
So it's a bunch of ignorant fucktards who are upset about shit they don't know a goddamned thing about, but feel free to, say whatever the fuck they want about it.
Well, when I can't remember which team it was that decided they weren't even going to take the field for the national anthem, and everybody got pissed at that, then somebody had to point out to them, like, you realize they didn't take the field for almost 40 years.
Yeah.
They didn't come out until after the national anthem.
There is no, in their minds, there is no correct way to protest.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only correct way to protest is to not protest.
Yeah.
Or just to have blind obedience towards their fucking master.
Yeah. Yeah, just suck it up, continue.
Which, how the fuck is that a libertarian point of view? I mean, maybe it's not. I mean, maybe we came to this subject from the libertarian argument. And maybe it's not, but how does blind patriotic allegiance a libertarian point of view?
I don't know that that's necessarily a libertarian view, but what pisses me off is when I see libertarians, as I mentioned earlier, saying shit like, well, businesses should have the right to refuse, service to whoever they want. It's their business. They should be able to run it however they want. Okay. You can think that that's okay, but what if that business has a monopoly? What if they're the only fucking business who provides that particular service? What then? People should just say, okay, fuck it, I can't do it because I'm a minority who this company doesn't like, and so I can't get that service from them, and so I'm fucked? Libertarians are so fucking short-sighted.
Set aside even just American history, and think about humanity, the evolution of humanity in general. If libertarianism was such a God-given, beautiful, perfect architecture, why have we never seen it evolve naturally
does it exist in the wild?
Human history?
Yeah.
I mean, in all of these democracies we've had and theocracies and dictatorships and everything we've had throughout human history and oligarchies and everything, never have you seen, that I know of at least, a pure libertarian state.
It doesn't work if you have a group larger than like 50 people. It's not going to fucking work.
No, I mean,
because you have competing interests, competing views on different things.
When you're running your one farm and your closest neighbor is like 5,000 miles away, okay, libertarianism is great because you're the only one there.
You're making your own roads.
But as soon as you have somebody next door, then you need to start compromising.
Yeah.
You need to, it doesn't work anymore.
Well, and you mentioned in the last episode, you can't breed whales in Utah or whatever it was. Like, there are certain things that, libertarians and Republicans, people on the right in general, decry all of these rules and regulations that people have to follow. And I've mentioned it several times that these regulations don't fucking come out of nowhere.
Yeah. No.
They're not born of somebody just sitting around thinking, well, how can I fuck with people today? There are reasons why these laws and regulations come into place, and it's because people abuse their fellow people all the fucking time.
Unfortunately, there's for a lot of laws, especially older laws, we've forgotten what the rationale was. We've forgotten why. We've forgotten the history of like the EPA.
And that's why we see so many younger people these days are libertarians, because they don't know the fucking history of how we got to where we are now.
And that's what I think we need is more of that history,
civics
into
and
history. Why the EPA exists, why the Department of Education exists, why the Department of, what's that third one?
Commerce?
You pulling a Rick Perry on us?
I thought it would be fun.
But no, it's like, even at work the other day, I made the joke that I was saying, like, with how fast Trump is trying to deregulate everything, soon we're going to have fucking 5-year-old kids greasing cogs and machines again.
Yeah, any day now.
Probably, yeah.
Working in the coal mine.
Yeah, because who else is going to fit in there to grease those cogs?
Maybe not. I mean, because Obama wasn't the one that pulled kids out of the factories. And really the only thing Trump cares about is repealing Obama's shit.
True.
That's really undoing Obama's legacy is the only thing he cares about.
Well, but the one thing I do worry about with the deregulation, because he wants to deregulate things because he said it's going to make it easier to rebuild our infrastructure. But then I think back to like, how many failed bridges and railways have we had before we had these figured out, we can't build it this way.
There's a reason we have regulations on bridges and subways.
Yeah, and we need to consult the person who knows the soil. We need to consult the people who knows what's in the bottom of the water. We need to consult all these different agencies to make sure when you build that thing, it's going to stand there and it's not going to fall the fuck down.
And then we have to have laws in place that if that does happen, the people who are harmed are made whole, or at least
and have rights
offered, or at least offered some recompense for the damage that has been done to them because of your shitty fucking work.
Yeah, it was not on their account. They had nothing to do with. Well, maybe they did. They
were the ones who were stupid enough to use the fucking bridge.
But
that's what I was going to say.
That's on a libertarian point of view. I mean, if it was an unsafe building, you have a choice not to live there.
Or we're going to have, I saw a video of a building in China where they were picking at the foundation. It was old newspapers.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing too, is that libertarians seem so they don't know history. They seem short-sighted, and then they have this delusional view that everybody, when they're born, starts out on an even playing field.
No.
Yeah.
And that's not how the fucking world works.
Yeah.
We know that for a fact. We know that if you are born I was born a poor black child.
You're like
Steve Martin in The Jerk.
I love that movie.
You're not going to have rhythm. No, but
there's a reason aristocracies exist and have existed throughout human history.
Billionaires breed billionaires.
Yeah.
And the people in power tend to do whatever they can to continue shifting power toward themselves and their friends.
Yeah, if we all had equal opportunity, you wouldn't see every billionaire having their kids become billionaires and their kids become billionaires. Be like, well, why can't I do the same?
Yeah, we see that
because I wasn't born into that part of the society, so I don't get to go there that way.
Yeah, and we see it in the Republican tax reform that they just passed. That it offers moderate tax benefits for people on the lower and middle incomes
for a limited, unless you make under
for a limited
amount
of time. But for corporations, it's forever. And for rich people, it's this huge fucking windfall.
Oh. Talking about that, did you hear about AT&T now?
What about AT&T now?
Well, AT&T was giving out the $1,000 bonus to 200,000
and then they laid off 1,000 people.
Well, it was more than 1,000 now. Almost.
Oh, yeah?
They keep laying off more. And then I was reading something that said that money came because they were fucking the unions were going after AT&T, saying for like unfair, like, hey, you need to pay better wages and stuff. So the settlement was, we'll give up bonuses. It wasn't because of Trump's tax plan. It was because the union
agreement.
Yeah.
I think I heard something about that.
Oh, I'm very glad that I divested myself from any interest in AT&T earlier this year. Just a few months ago, actually. Got rid of DirecTV, my AT&T wireless, all of that shit.
Sadly, it's the only phone carrier I can use.
Yeah?
It's the only one that will work on Dugway.
Oh, right. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, all of these companies, I mean, pretty much everyone that I've heard of so far that's made big announcements as far as like hiring or bonuses or tax increase or wage
nothing
increases.
To do with Trump.
Well, either had nothing to do with Trump or they have a vested interest in getting on Trump's good side. The whole Comcast thing.
Yeah.
They have a vested interest. Wells Fargo is in the middle of a DOJ investigation for their actions. And
what they're giving out is chump change compared to what they're going to make.
Oh, yeah. It's
off
fucking,
of this.
Well, there's that. And if they can get
it's
on
what
Trump's,
would fall out of their pockets because they're too fucking full.
If Wells Fargo can get on Trump's good side by giving him some positive press, then Trump might influence the DOJ in going easy on their investigation of their illegal practices.
Yeah.
And also with Wells Fargo, they were also facing a lot of states like California where they have a lot of employees, where California was doing a $15 minimum wage. It goes into effect this year. So they were already being forced into a $15 minimum wage. So doing it nationally was not that big of a deal to them.
Yeah, but they can look like the good guys because they're going to do it. They're just going to do it for everybody.
Yeah.
But I don't think corporations are going to come back.
But, I mean, when we look back through history, we look at ending slavery. We look at ending segregation, ending Jim Crow laws. All of those things happened because of government regulation and because of laws being put in place.
And because people stood up and said, this is fucked up.
Right, yeah. Not just because people decided, oh, hey, we're going to do this because it's the right thing to do. It's because the government stepped in, as should be its role, in an elected government who's representing all of the people of the country, that they should take a specific interest in minority groups who are being persecuted within its governance, right? Within its power to control, it should have a particular interest in protecting minorities. And that's what government does. And libertarians fail to see that, or they just don't fucking care.
Well, I mean,
I think they don't care. I think it's more of a lack of caring than is a lack of ignorance.
Yeah. You think they just don't care?
I think they just don't care. I think they think that it's the Ayn Rand philosophy that
might is right.
On balance, it all evens out in the end.
Yeah.
And that even if some minorities being persecuted now, over the span of time, it all balances out.
Yeah, that's what I had a buddy tell me about this whole fucking tax thing. So it'll balance out by the time you retire. I'm like, well, that don't help me pay a mortgage right now.
Yeah.
And it's only going to balance out over the span of time because some future politician is going to change things to make it balance.
Well, no, he says it's because of our thrift savings program. Then with the stock market going up, you're going to make more money that way. I'm like, yeah, but that's not now.
I mean, if your hope is that the stock market is going to perpetually go up,
which it's got to hit a point where it's going to go, well, we're fucked again.
Come on, the stock market is going to go down.
Yeah.
At some point, it will go down again.
Eventually.
Or come to a steady plateau. But when you get people that are business-minded in the White House, they want to see gains every quarter.
And they don't give a fuck about the people that they're hurting.
If they don't get those gains that quarter, well, I guess we got to lay some people off so the numbers make up, so we got some gains.
And corporations don't have the best interests of their customers in mind. No. They have the best interests of their stockholders in mind.
Yeah.
That's what they care about. They don't give a fuck about the people in the rest of the country. They care about keeping their stockholders happy.
Or else they wouldn't pay millions of dollars a year to have lawyers and teams of people to figure out how to fuck over the laws.
Yeah. To pay as little as possible for getting what they want.
How much can we fuck our employees? How much can we make them work without them to fucking pay their asses? How little can we pay into their Social Security and their Medicare and their retirement plans?
How much can we ship manufacturing overseas for lower paid workers?
Or how many workers do we need to work so they only work a 39-hour work week so we got to pay any shit on this?
Yeah. Yeah, libertarians really bother me.
Well, I mean, if you don't like it, you just don't buy that corporation's product here.
That's hard.
Yeah, and eventually they'll go out of business.
Because, I mean, find a cell phone company that manufactures cell phones here in the States.
I mean, how many plantations went out of business because people thought slavery was wrong, right?
Yeah.
Well, that happened all the time.
You can't even manufacture cell phones in the U.S.
No.
We don't have the raw materials. They're core raw materials that don't even exist in the U.S. There's no way to even
Plus, I
create
think
an
my hands are
iPhone
too
here.
big.
China
gotta
has
have
raw
Trump hands.
materials that we, it's idiotic.
And they got the workforce.
And they have a workforce. There's that too.
Hey, this is Taylor Grin from grinandbearint.com, where we do news, analysis, and commentary, and you're listening to Godless Rebelution.
Kirk, I have an intellectually stimulating theory. It's my theory of where the soda can may have come from. Billions of years ago, there was a big bang in space. Nobody knows what caused the big bang. It just happened. And from this bang issued this huge rock. On top of the rock was found a sweet, brown, bubbly substance. And over millions of years, aluminum crept up the side, formed itself in a can, then a lid, and then a tab. And then millions of years later, red paint, blue paint, white paint fell from the sky and formed itself into the words, 12 fluid ounces. Do not litter.
If you have questions, comments, concerns, compliments, corrections, criticisms, or concepts for content, contact the show via email at godlessrebelution@gmail.com, by text or voicemail at 330-81-REBEL, or Twitter the twatter at TGR Podcast. Thank you!
All right, I want to talk about GMOs. Can we talk about GMOs?
We're going to do it.
We're going to do it.
This
oh
is
my
like,
God. I'm going to get beat down by the end of this episode.
This is like my own little pet thing. Like, beyond religion, GMOs are something that I'm very passionate about, because for a while I was anti-GMO because I bought into all the bullshit I saw on the internet, like the March Against Monsanto and Franken foods and all of that fucking bullshit until I think somebody just asked me some questions like, well, where are you getting this information from? What makes you think this? Well, why do you think this is so harmful? And so then I was like, well, I'll find out. I'll do some research and tell you, Mr. So-and-so, who dares question me on my opinions about this. And then I started looking into it and I'm like, I was fucking stupid.
It's kind of like reading the Bible.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's kind of a
I'm going to prove you wrong by reading the Bible.
Oh, fuck. It actually does say that, doesn't it?
It's kind of a religious thing for a lot of people who, like, the crunchy granola organic type people in California. Even
yeah, I like granola. Come on,
granola is good. It is. It's yummy.
Healthy.
I like granola. But I mean, you have so GMOs as well as religion is something that spans all demographics, right? Mm-hmm. So your fear or hatred or loathing of GMOs spans all demographics. It's you know, it spans demographics of age, race, religion, income, education, everybody. Like there are some things that are definitely left versus right issues, like climate change,
abortion.
Abortion's a good one.
Gun control.
Yeah, gun control is another one. So those are definitely left versus right issues, right? But GMO fears and the concerns surrounding them span all of those demographics. Mm-hmm. So you have liberal lefties, like, who's the chick that was on fucking,
I keep thinking Goop. What's her name?
Oh, that's Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yeah.
But there's,
with the egg.
The Latino woman who was on
website.
Modern Family?
No, not Modern Family. It was, what the fuck was it? It was a show that was popular like maybe 10 years ago. A bunch of women living in this cul-de-sac.
Like Sex and the City?
Desperate Housewives?
Was it Desperate Housewives?
A bunch of women living in a cul-de-sac.
They all drank wine.
Ava.
Yes. What the fuck is
Garcia,
her name?
Ava Braun?
No. Now I gotta look up her name. Oh, fucking.
I think it's more recent than Ava Braun.
Oh. So it wasn't GMOs that killed her?
I'm not sure.
Eva Longoria. Eva Longoria. And Bill Maher also is part of this. So Bill Maher has had fucking weird views on even vaccinations in the past.
Gun control. And
he came out against vaccinations for a while. Then he was and is still, I think, against GMOs.
Do you think
doesn't
any
know.
of that? Well, is it he doesn't know, or do you think some things that he brings up like that are big stuff that come from money people is sponsorship? Possibly any at all?
I don't think it's necessarily sponsorship with him. I think for him
it is legit.
I mean, he's HBO, so it's not. He's not as slave to sponsorship.
Well, he's a slave to HBO.
He's a slave to HBO, but he doesn't have commercials or anything.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but
he just has some fucked up positions on a few things.
That's true, because
I just don't know.
Vice is on HBO, and they're way more logical about
but
a
Bill
lot of
Maher
stuff.
is an executive producer for Vice, and he is
Really?
I've seen his influence on their coverage of GMOs, because Vice did a thing on GMOs, and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? That's bullshit. Like, you, Vice, who I really, really like
I
and
respect Vice, yeah.
so much, have just totally bastardized this whole conversation by sending in somebody who was obviously biased, obviously not listening to any of the information that was presented to them, and then you put out the story, and I'm like, God damn it, Bill Maher has fucked up Vice.
Well, I didn't know Bill Maher actually was a producer for Vice.
Yeah, he's the executive producer for Vice.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he's the executive producer for Vice News.
Oh, okay.
But so GMOs, for me, are a very important thing, because we have an ever-expanding population in the world, and we need a way to feed them, and we need a way to do that with as much, with a reduction as much as possible in any ecological damage. Ecological. Dan's 2 cocktails in and starting on a beer.
If you're going to talk about GMOs, you might want to be able to pronounce
things that don't fuck up the environment.
Yes,
pronounce.
We want to make sure that we are good custodians of the environment. We want to make sure that we do it in the best
and responsible use of resources,
sound ways that we can. Yes, that we use good resources, or that we don't abuse the resources, or
though they may seem abundant, the more people we get, the less we're going to fucking have.
Yes, of course. So GMOs are the way that we accomplish that, and I don't understand why so many people who are all on board for, that climate change is real and is man-caused, all of these other issues that we can prove through science that this is happening, and these are the types of actions that we need to do to mitigate the damages that are going on. So with GMOs, we have science, real science that is being put into work in the field of agriculture to mitigate a lot of these problems, to increase yields, to reduce the impact on the environment, and to make more food for more people and have it be more nutritious for those people in order to feed an ever-increasing population. And you have people who are so concerned about things because they don't understand basic biology.
Mm-hmm.
They don't understand basic biology, and then they're buying into the narrative that they're being fed by the quote-unquote organic side of the house, who says that, well, you're just making Franken foods. You're introducing these genes from different things that we have no idea what it's going to affect. You're making, fish tomatoes and all of the,
chickens with 10 legs.
Yeah, all of these other things that are just fucking ridiculous.
Octo chickens.
Right. So they have a really poor understanding of basic biology and how that whole thing works. And then they have, on top of that, a fear of past abuses by other corporations, where you've got things like Agent Orange,
which is a bad thing.
It was a bad thing. Okay,
so why should we trust them?
And then you've got, like the tobacco industry, who for years and years said that tobacco was healthy, and not only was it not harmful, but that it had health benefits, that it could soothe your throat. It would
if you had asthma,
help your
great.
Digestion. It was great for you. All of these, of these
things.
It
was calming. It's soothing. Nicotine is it calms you down in a stressful situation.
And they'll point to all of these studies that scientists made and put out for the tobacco industry in support of the tobacco industry's claims, right? But we know now that what fixed that? More science.
Yeah.
More science, more people looking into the claims of the tobacco industry and proving that what these other scientists had said was fucking wrong. And we have the same thing going on with GMOs now. With GMOs, we're able to increase yields. We're able to increase or decrease the amount of ecological impact that those crops will have on the environment. GMOs are the wave of the future, and people are so fucking hesitant to adopt it when it's been, GMOs have been with us for more than 40 years now. They're in trillions of meals that people eat, and yet our lifespan keeps increasing. Our health keeps getting better. Tell me why GMOs are a big problem.
Well, so did you have a story, or
yeah.
Do you want to start with a story and then go from there? Or?
Yeah, so this comes to us from the Washington Post, and the headline says, "Avoiding GMOs isn't just anti-science, it's immoral." The story says that of the several claims of anti-science that clutter our national debates these days, none can be more flagrantly clear than the campaign against modern agricultural technology, most specifically the use of molecular techniques to create genetically modified organisms, GMOs. Here there are no credibly conflicting studies, no arguments about the validity of computer models, no disruption of an ecosystem, nor any adverse human health or even digestive problems after 5 billion acres have been cultivated cumulatively and trillions of meals consumed. And yet a concerted deep pockets campaign, as relentless as it is baseless, has persuaded a high percentage of Americans and Europeans to avoid GMO products and to pay premium prices for non-GMO or organic foods that may in some cases be less safe and less nutritious. Thank goodness the toothpaste makers of the past weren't cowed so easily. The tubes would have said, "No fluoride inside," and we'd all have many more cavities. Because we've heard that too, right? There was a big fluoride as a communist plot to control our brains and shit like that.
Speaking of fluoride, I saw today from SciBabe?
Huh.
Apparently we're all brushing...
Yvette! We love Yvette!
Yep. Apparently we're all brushing our teeth wrong.
Oh, yeah?
You're not supposed to rinse after brushing.
Really? Because you're just rinsing away the fluoride.
You're rinsing away the fluoride off your teeth, so you're supposed to just spit and not rinse.
Expectorate, I think, is the appropriate nomenclature, yes.
Spew.
Well, I mean,
the frothy.
So many states avoided fluoridated water for so long, including
my
Utah.
mom was huge against fluoride for a long time. She's like,
Utah.
it's just, it's the secret plot by the communists and the dentists
to make you gay,
to get you into the dentist office. I'm like, what?
Utah that avoided fluoridation for a very long time, and we still have communities here that don't have adequately fluoridated water, have the highest concentration of dentists in the country. I mean, we have a huge number of dentists.
Utah is huge for dentists.
Huge for dentists.
Yeah. The story continues and says, "This is the kind of foolishness that rich societies can afford to indulge. But when they attempt to inflict their superstitions on the poor and hungry peoples of the planet, the cost shifts from affordable to dangerous, and the debate from scientific to moral. From campus to Congress, it's common these days to speak in terms of grand challenges. No challenge is grander than feeding the 9 billion or more people with whom we will share the earth in a few decades. Of course, these people weren't supposed to exist. Just a few decades back, experts were winning genius prizes for pontificating that the battle to feed all of humanity is over, and forecasting that hundreds of millions were going to die, and that there was nothing anyone could do about it. Question: if that's genius, what does ignorance look like? Aren't the prize givers entitled to a refund?
Well, they didn't count on the Mormons having so many kids.
Well, I can remember that back in the 70s and 80s when they were projecting, huge increases in world population and that we wouldn't have enough food to feed everybody.
Yeah, I remember that.
You guys remember those concerns? That was a huge deal.
And that was back, the population was half what it is now.
Right.
It was literally, I think the population was like 3.5 or so, 3 to 3.5 billion people in the 80s.
Yeah, and they were freaking the fuck out that we're not going to have enough food to feed all of these people.
And now we're over 7 billion.
Yeah. Instead of mass starvation, instead of mass starvation and depopulation, the intervening years saw the most explosive improvements in living standards, food security, poverty reduction, and life expectancy in human history. Credit Deng Xiaoping's unshackling of the capitalist spirit of China for much of the gain, but it was the likes of the plant pathologist Norman Borlaug and wheat breeder Orville Vogel whose green revolution powered by modern plant science saved the most lives and set the stage for the next grand challenge. Today, their scientific successors are giving birth to a new set of miracles in plant production and animal husbandry that can not only feed the world's growing billions, but do so in far more sustainable, environmentally friendly ways. And though the new technologies are awe-inspiring, they are just refinements of cruder techniques that have been used for centuries. Which is another good point. Like, everybody thinks that organic is this magical, wonderful thing. Well, fucking cyanide is organic.
Oh, yeah. True.
Mercury is organic.
Yeah.
Everything actually is organic. There are no non-organic. Like, what the fuck does that even mean? It's all organic. Everything is natural. There are no supernatural foods out on the market.
But I mean, the distinction I think people are making between organic and non-organic, and again, I'm kind of speaking out my ass a little bit, because I wasn't super prepared for this, but is that it's not
altered
at a fundamental genetic or molecular level artificially.
At a more precise level?
Well, it wasn't altered artificially. I mean, it evolved naturally.
What did?
But even
like an apple, like an apple evolved naturally through whatever process, rather than through altering the genetics or what am I trying to say?
Genes,
the genetics. I don't want to say DNA. It's not DNA.
Well, it's technically it's a kind of, well, it's not technically DNA, but it's the.
I mean, it's not altering the fundamentals of an apple to create an apple without seeds or something like that.
Yeah.
Or an apple tree that artificially produces more apples than nature would have done it by itself.
Well, but that's just the thing, is like, human beings have been fucking with nature since we arrived.
Right.
If you were to look at what corn was naturally and organically in the wild before humans started fucking with it and crossbreeding it, it looked like wheat.
Yeah.
I mean, it was this tiny, it was like the size of a pen with tiny little kernels on it. There was no way that you could eat that.
Little corn,
like, you would not need the corn holders.
Like little corn things that my parents had at dinner parties.
Those were actual size.
Tasted like shit. Is that what corn?
Yeah, the things they put on salads these days, the baby corn.
But even, for example, like at my grandparents' house, my grandfather had an apple tree. The apples at that tree, when they were fully grown, were about the size of a tennis ball. We're used to seeing apples the size of softballs when you go and buy them at the grocery store.
Sometimes, yeah.
Because that's how low, like those grand red apples or whatever they're called, they want to produce big apples, so they bred big apples.
Big apples.
So they're not, it's not.
You got big apples, buddy.
Was that bred through a natural process of cross-pollination and just kind of having
getting rid of the seeds that produce small ones and keeping the ones,
taking trimmings from one tree and putting them on another.
Went into the gene of the seed and like actually swapped out things and threw in some, some pear genes here and some chicken genes here to create a Franken apple.
I put pig genes in there just because I like bacon.
I'm going to fail at the devil's advocate thing on this.
That's what freaks people out. It does. The artificial. But
they don't realize that that's also genetically modifying the thing just on a very slow, long process.
But
long and inaccurate.
But their argument, I believe, is that if it's not meant to exist in nature, then what they try to create artificially in nature will just not grow. But now with science, we can make it grow even though nature would never make it happen naturally.
Well, most of our produce doesn't occur naturally, like oranges that have no seeds.
Mm-hmm.
That can't reproduce.
Right.
Basically, any fruit or vegetable
Well,
with no seeds can't
bananas
reproduce.
are kind of fucked. I mean,
Grapes,
bananas have a weird
tomatoes,
history,
oranges,
too.
watermelons.
Yeah, they don't pull the seeds out. They're made that way because they genetically made seeds that don't create seeds.
Right. Well, and for a lot of those, it wasn't even at the genetic level. It was just through crossbreeding.
Crossbreeding, yeah. Which is what I was saying is the slow method.
that we've artificially selected plants with smaller and smaller seeds that we continue crossbreeding until the seeds are either completely gone or small enough that they're near non-existent.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you see that with cucumbers, with bananas, with watermelons, apples, oranges. All kinds of fruit and vegetables that are out there.
Right.
And all of these things were done by quote unquote natural means through artificial selection where we take those particular plants and breed them and hopefully breed them for those particular traits that we want.
Yeah.
Where it's, larger fruit, fruit with less seeds, with a thinner rind on it, so it's more easily digested and easier,
or just
easier to get to.
Larger and brighter.
Yeah.
Making the colors look more vibrant so you think it's fresher. It looks like it's going to taste better.
Well, and that lasts longer. I mean,
and it yields more crop.
Yields more crop. And we've sped up that process in the lab by doing it at a genetic level rather than the slow process of crossbreeding this and that to get the traits that we want. But it's the fact of doing it in the lab that freaks people out.
Yeah.
But what should freak people out is you can have something labeled organic and still spray pesticides all the fuck over it. You can spray that thing full of chemicals.
Right.
We could do a whole show on GMOs.
We
I'm just
could.
realizing as
We
I'm
got
looking
4
at our
minutes
timer.
I told you 25 minutes. That didn't seem
not
like
enough.
a whole lot. We have like 4 minutes left.
So let me get back to the article here. It says that given the emphatic or, as some like to say, settled nature of the science, one would expect a united effort to spread these life-saving, planet-sparing technologies as fast as possible to the poorer nations who will need them so urgently. Instead, we hear demands that developing countries forego the products that offer them the best hope of joining the well-fed, affluent world. In the words of gullible former Zambian president, we would rather starve than get something toxic. Marie Antoinette couldn't have said it better. It's not that the legitimate scientific community doesn't understand the seriousness of the problem or the distortions of the naysayers, but too many keep what they know to themselves or, when they engage, observe the Marquis of Queensberry rules in what is essentially a street brawl. One can understand their reticence facing an aggressive, often self-interested, anti-GMO lobby that is indifferent to the facts and quick with ad hominem attacks. If you're an academic, you can tell yourself that, sooner or later, the science will prevail. If you're from the world of commerce, you justify your silence or complicity by saying that you aren't in business to argue with customers. If you're a regulatory bureaucrat, you worry that you will be drawn and quartered for any mistake, whereas no one is ever held accountable for the miracle that never makes it to the marketplace. It's time to move the argument to a new plane. For the rich and well-fed to deny Africans, Asians, or South Americans the benefits of modern technology is not merely anti-scientific, it's cruel, it's heartless, it's inhumane, and it ought to be confronted on moral grounds that ordinary citizens, including those who have been conned into preferring non-GMO Cheerios, can understand. Travel to Africa with any of Purdue University's 3 recent World Food Prize winners, and you won't find the conversation dominated by anti-GMO protesters. There, where more than half of the coming population increase will occur, consumers and farmers alike are eager to share in the life-saving and life-enhancing advances that modern science alone can bring. Efforts to persuade them otherwise or simply block their access to the next round of breakthroughs are worse than anti-scientific, they're immoral.
Yeah.
And I wholly agree. If you want to deny them these life-saving technologies that will be able to feed their populations, that's an immoral act.
Yeah, when you can produce a crop that takes less square footage, square mileage, or acres, or however the fuck you want to measure it.
Acreage, I think, hectares
with
maybe acceptable.
With less water and is less susceptible to insects destroying the crop.
To disease.
To weeds.
Yeah, to all of these other things. So, oh God, we're running out of fucking time.
1 minute.
I want to talk about this so much more.
If I can, I want to ask you a quick question.
Sure.
And I am not anti-GMO. I'm really not. And this isn't just one of the big things for me, and I think for a lot of people, is I don't trust corporations.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in your lead-in, you talked a lot about corporations and some of the history with the tobacco and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And earlier in the evening, you talked about corporations, how their number one constituency, their only obligation is to shareholders,
is to their stockholders,
not to their customers, not to their employees, to their shareholders.
Right.
I don't trust corporations. The McDonald's coffee lawsuit, the whole millionaire coffee thing, I mean, that's evidence to me, corporations are just.
The what now? Say that with McDonald's?
The coffee lawsuit of the scalding coffee and
the lady's lap.
The lady's lap and all that. And
she got seriously fucking burned.
She had third-degree burns.
She nearly died.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a serious. Yeah, people downplay that as, somebody didn't know the coffee was hot. Yeah.
They downplayed it because the corporations put on this years-long anti-corporation lawsuit campaign to downplay it and to make lawsuits against corporate. So no, we
need tort reform. We can't have people putting up these false and phony lawsuits. Yeah.
So going back to your lead-in about like tobacco, I guess one of the big questions that maybe some people have, I don't know what their arguments, but one big question I would have is, are we at the point post-tobacco where we know the truth now, or are we at the point pre-tobacco where the science at the time said X, Y, and Z, but future science is going to say, oh yeah, that was all just corporate science bullshit?
Because I was with you on that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, but Monsanto and a lot of those companies are basically making GMOs open source.
See, and again, I mean, a lot of this is hearsay, so I don't know. I'm not as well read on this as you are, so I don't know.
Well, that goes into the lawsuit
I keep hearing
thing
about lawsuits where Monsanto is trying to cover up research that goes against Monsanto.
Mm-hmm.
And that might not be true. You tell me.
It's not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The biggest case that was out there that I believed in the longest time, after Dan talked to me about it and I did more research on myself, I'm like, oh fuck, this guy's full of shit. He had like bought Monsanto seeds.
The farmer with the seeds?
From a previous crop. He didn't pay the rights.
He bought feed.
Or something.
He bought feed seed.
And was using
had Monsanto seeds in it and used that to plant his crops.
Okay.
So he was using them illegally in the first place.
Okay.
So it wasn't him like saying, oh, Monsanto will let me do this. Like, no, you bought something and used it for something else that it wasn't licensed to be used for.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess the question I have, I mean, in 50 years from now, are we going to look back on now and say right now we're in the 50s with the tobacco?
I totally understand the hesitation there and the questioning and the mistrust of science. The scientists, but
I don't mistrust science. I mistrust corporations
and the abuse of it,
and their abuse of science.
Yeah.
For profit.
Because
I totally get that.
They do abuse science. They hire scientists. I mean, the oil companies do it all the time with fucking climate change.
Yep. Yeah, they do.
They hire the scientists that will produce the science that they want.
Well, that's where when I was saying like they're making open source, I thought it was, when we were talking about one time basically saying that Monsanto let a lot of the patents run out.
Mm-hmm.
So that anybody can use that now.
Yeah.
So it's not just them that can produce it.
Anybody, they turn it over to universities.
Yeah, anybody can get their hands on that technology and on that research and on that information and use it without being sued.
No, I think it's great. I mean, if we can get, sorry, it's been a long night. If we can get, crops to grow in arid regions in Africa and South America and shit like that, I mean, and feed these people, feed a lot of people. I mean, that's an amazing thing, but
I don't know. Yeah, maybe I need to do more. I'm not as well, like I said, I'm not as well read as you. Maybe I need to do some more research too.
Okay, 2 shows from now, we will do a whole episode for GMOs.
Since we already got next week planned.
Yeah, we've already got next week planned, but 2 weeks from now, we'll do a whole show on GMOs. I want to talk about all of the arguments against GMOs, all of the concerns, all of the lawsuits, the history. We'll do an entire show just on GMOs 2 weeks from now.
Okay.
Yes, let's do it. We'll put that on the calendar. So now we have 2 shows planned out.
Yay!
Hey, look at us.
That's the most planned
Starting
you've
the
had
new year
in 3 years.
But with that, that'll pretty much wrap things up for us this evening. I want to make sure that we thank our Patreon supporters. That would be Michelle Short, Christy Kalbach, Camille Borowski, Numania, Alan Firth, Gaytheist, Larry Wilson, Dr. Dan, Matt's boss from the 2AC podcast, to whom we pledge loyalty, Janet Uter, Let Them Eat Kofefe, Stephen Andrus, Utah Outcasts, Marius Butrikowski, Tim Jacobson, Matt Tuller, Megan Kennedy, Andrew Vodopich, Brandy Hamrick, Jeremy Goodson, Angelica Pearson, Wes Aaron, Purple Dragon, Larimer, and Taylor Grin. I like that Purple Dragon guy,
I like
too.
Taylor Grin, too.
Yeah, they're both pretty cool.
Go check out Grin and Barrett.
Yes, go look at grinandbarrett.com for news and analysis.
I don't have a website. I just post random shit on Facebook.
But yeah, we've got a couple episodes planned out. That'll be a whole lot of fun coming up in the new year. This is our last recording of 2017.
But you'll hear it.
Yeah, it won't be released until 2018. So this is our first
Happy
show
fucking New Year
of 2018 that the people will be hearing. I hope you all had a fantastic Christmas, Giftmas, Christmas, or Kwanzaa, Festivus.
Oh, what's
Hanukkah?
I just saw Life Day.
Winter Solstice.
Yeah. Life Day, is that the Star Wars holiday special?
I don't know. I never saw it.
Life Day? I don't know. I've never heard of it.
I've never seen the Star Wars holiday special.
I've never seen it. I've heard about it. I've heard the rumors of it. I've heard the myths of it.
They celebrate, the Wookiees celebrate Life Day.
Oh.
I mean, the fucking conservatives would go nuts. I mean, they Princess Leia sings. How have you not seen this?
I've never found it.
I think I may have seen it.
I've heard about it. I've never searched it out either. I've heard about it.
Yeah. Okay. I've got a copy of it. I will
VHS or DVD?
It's a DVD burned to a digital file.
Oh, okay.
So I'll
send it over. I'll watch it.
Sure. I can send you the file.
Piratos!
Oh my God. It is awful.
That's probably why I haven't heard it, because it's been a joke.
Chewie's son, Lumpy. He has a son named Lumpy.
Awesome.
Oh.
Yeah. I think I've seen clips of it, but I haven't seen the whole thing.
Sorry.
You're fine.
We're going off on a whole tangent.
But yeah, thank you all very much for listening. We've got a couple shows planned out. I hope you have had a fantastic holiday season. I hope you have a happy and safe new year. And we look forward to chatting at you all in the coming year. So until next time, crucify that like button.
Leave a review to achieve nirvana.
And rate the show 5 times towards the new year.
Well, should we do this?
Yeah.
So aren't we already?
let's fuck something
We
up.
were testing sound levels and shit because I had to... Every time I unplug the fucking goddams and plug them in, I gotta rename them all, make sure it's all set up again.
What the fuck?
That's fucking stupid.
So when you uncheck, always start on a new track, it will start on a new track. But when you have that checked, it stays on the same track.
Yeah.
Roy Moore is going to be that grumpy old man sitting on a rocker on his porch down in Alabama, just kind of grumbling to himself, I should have won. I should have won.
Motherfuckers and their stupid GMO bullshit.
I was like one of those, you can just, it was like a vaccine type thing.
Died of death.
It did in the end.
Had a severe case of death.
True.
And then it died.
I have never heard of one person getting a case of the death and not coming back. Or coming back.
Jesus, you've heard of that.
Yeah, but I haven't seen him.
Lazarus.
Oh, fuck off.